Hi everyone, it's Scott from Wine Styles in Greensboro, Friendly Center, 3326 West Friendly Avenue, Unit 141. Come by and visit us. This is a dear friend of mine, Julia Hunt. We've known each other for
127 years.
127 years. I always round up to 30, but she's not happy with me when I do that. I taught her everything that she knows about wine, and she has since become a level 3 advanced sommelier. So what she's gonna attempt today in her glory is to blind taste these wines. I have poured them without her seeing the bottles before she came in. I had to re-pour because she didn't like the amount that I poured, but that's a whole nother story. So she's going to go through the wines and give you the tasting notes. She's given me a sheet to follow along so that I know what she's talking about, and we'll start with that, and I'll turn it over to her.
Hey everybody. So blind tasting is more than just kind of a neat parlor trick, and if I get through a couple of these, I may get a prize. I'm not sure, but so the deductive format that's taught by the Court of Master Sommeliers to deduce the varietal and region of wine can be learned. There are markers for certain varietals and flavors and structure and how they taste, so you can deduce what they are. But today, it's more about finding your flavor and describing, being able to understand, oh, I taste apple in that wine, but I couldn't describe it, and I know that I like that. Or when you say lemon, I like a crisp wine that, kind of makes me salivate a little bit, and I like that. So that's more the purpose today. So think about the flavors that you like, think about putting together your vocabulary, and that's how you're going to find new wines that you like. We're familiar with the labels we're familiar with, which is great, but sometimes you want to step outside the box, step outside your comfort zone with the label, but you want to end up with a wine you like.
But at the same time, everyone's taste buds are different, and
yeah, to some extent, for sure, and but a lot of times it is just the Rolodex of how you describe the flavor, and that's all learned. We all have a different set of flavor references, and so strawberries are very different to different people. If you grew up in Minnesota and all the strawberries you ever had were from the grocery store, and they were the hard white top, mealy, barely turned red strawberries, your perception of a strawberry is much different than somebody in South Carolina who picks it out of their grandmother's garden and it literally is going to turn into jam in a day. It's so ripe. It's still a strawberry, but it's completely different experiences of a strawberry.
we both grew up in South Carolina, so.
I don't remember strawberries in my grandma's backyard, but it is, so when we're talking about that, you would have really, really lean flavors versus really, really lush or ripe flavors.
Okay, so here we go with the first wine.
All right, wine number 1 is a white wine. It is pale to medium straw in color. It is a medium concentration, medium viscosity, and very little rim variation, just maybe a little white watery rim, which tells me this is a young wine.
So Julia will use specific professional terminology, and I'm going to ask her a couple of those. So the rim variation.
So wine, from its core, as it goes out into the glass, will sometimes vary in color. It doesn't occur in young white wines as much, so when you see very little of that, then you're probably dealing with a young wine. Darker wines, darker white wines, white wine gains color as it ages, whereas red wine loses color as it ages. So those are cues and clues to the age of a wine, so that's why you would probably mention it. I'm not going to mention it in every single one, but I went ahead and kicked off this one.
we lived in Charleston in the 90s. That's where we met, and we were fortunate enough to have a, was it 1976 Gewürztraminer
Yes.
and Trembach. Is that
From
correct?
Alsace, yes. Yep.
Yeah. And it
Great
had,
vintage for Alsatian wines. My
Yeah.
birth year.
it had, throw that in there. It had actually turned a blush with the aging in the bottle.
It was copper, like a copper color.
Yeah, and it was quite lovely, even being, 20 years old, 19, 20 years old. Julia was probably the same age at that time.
At that time, yeah. I was.
Well, it was your birth year,
Yeah.
so, hey. So back to what we're doing here.
But that's a great point too. Talk about ageability of wines. Acidity is really the most important thing for wines to age, and so tannin plays a part in that as well. But the longest-lived wines in the world are high-acid white wines typically. So Riesling, Gewürztraminer, Alsace, Germany.
Since you touch on that, tannin,
Yeah,
can you explain what tannin?
we'll talk about tannin when we get to red.
Excuse me.
You can have tannin in white wine if you have skin contact white wine, but not a whole lot. So.
Okay.
All right, the wine is clean, meaning it has no flaws. There's a lot of citrus fruit going on. There's lemon, there's lime zest, a little bit of grapefruit. Get some fresh cut grass.
I'm trying not to give my opinion on these wines because she knows some of my tastes with some wines. So I'll
Well, you go
probably,
ahead and describe it how you want. I mean,
but you'll get a cue of what it is from what I say.
I already know what it is.
Yeah, I mean, it's unmistakable.
Yeah, so all the grapefruit's there on the palate. Acidity is moderate plus. A lot of fresh, like lime, citrus going on. Orange, there's some orange peel there as well. It's quite nice. It's a very balanced style. Sometimes I'll throw out a couple varietals that make sense. But I'm just gonna go ahead and say this is Sauvignon Blanc. It's from New Zealand, and
Unmistakably.
unmistakably. But as far as Sauvignon Blanc goes, again, this is a balanced style. It does not have some of those overt green characters. In fact, I don't think I said a green character at all on the palate or on the nose. Some of them, my first thing is green pea, canned asparagus, kind of this, nettle meets a green vegetable kind of character. And that's not in this wine at all.
Some of them are like taking a handful of grass and shoving it in your mouth and then putting a grapefruit in right behind it.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
just, so much, but this is very nice, very well balanced.
Yeah, quite nice. All right,
Okay. Wanna move on?
yeah. Wine number 2. I'm not going to do the visual on all of them.
Do you want me to?
Yeah, just keep it in case we want to go
Okay.
back to it.
Whoops.
Yeah, I'm just going to go straight through the nose for the next one. It's clean. It's a little more muted than the other one.
What do you mean by muted?
The other one it's real giving. You get fruit, you get everything like immediately. This one
On the nose.
on the nose.
Yeah.
This one, and sometimes you got to work a little bit harder with some wines. It's more tree food like apple and pear versus the citrus that were so apparent on that wine. It's a little bit darker in color. not much minerality. Probably landing. There's a little bit of maybe crushed chalk, just a little bit. Not a whole lot.
Crushed chalk. That's an interesting one.
So, who had to clean the blackboard in school?
A lot.
That's what it smells like.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you're wondering what Julia's doing over here when you're tasting, which I don't do a lot of because she's spitting out because she has other things to do today. I have other things to do today as well, but I take smaller sips and swallow them completely because I like the back of the tongue feel and to be able to taste that as well. She has trained herself to be able to do that without completely swallowing.
And when you spit out, you actually get more oxygen in your mouth, so the flavors pop a little bit more. There's a little bit of a waxy character to the palate on this wine. Yeah, definitely apple, box pear. No apparent oak. It is still pretty fruit driven. There is a little bit of that chalk, but it's not what's driving the bus, so to speak. There's a creamy, lazy character. See, this is where, in blind tasting, you can turn left and you can turn right. And one way is correct and the other way is not.
Is that just a guessing game or is it
Well-
a trained palate?
Well, you have to listen to what I said about the wine. Because I want this to be one thing, but if I listen to how I described it, it clearly isn't. A really long finish, with the minerality, could this be a ripe, modern style, old world wine? Or is it something that lands kind of in the middle of a compromise of old world and new world? And that usually takes me to Oregon. Because of the phenolics and because of the creaminess and that little bit of waxiness, I want to say this is probably Pinot Gris. But I don't know. Part of me says, well, could it be Chenin Blanc? A lot of what I described is Chenin, but it does not have the acidity that Chenin has. From Loire, which is classically where it's from. The person I asked to choose these wines is going to stick with a classic region because then it doesn't serve a purpose by trying to be color outside the lines. So because of all that, I'm going to say Oregon Pinot Gris.
Do you want me to answer now?
Sure.
So this is a Sancerre from Loire.
Okay. This is a ripe vintage.
Yeah.
2020. It's got to be.
I can't recall the vintage. I didn't write. I don't even think I wrote down the vintage. And that's the thing when you're tasting. I mean, when you're blind tasting,
That is really ripe.
you have such a wide variety. I mean, you can go Washington, Oregon, Northern California, coastal California. I mean, New York, North Carolina.
No, there's no classic wines from New York.
Well, no classic wines, but
Oh yeah, there's wines from New York,
Wines.
but you're not in a blind tasting. Somebody's not going to pour you a Long Island Riesling and expect you to identify it.
I even heard the other day that Idaho has wines.
Yeah,
I didn't know that. But
all
so
50 states produce wine.
really, did you know that? I didn't know that.
The oldest AVA in the United States is in Missouri,
Wow.
Augusta, Missouri.
That's some good stuff. So, she's got a lot of knowledge. I taught most of it to her, but.
I know, so this is your fault. I got the wine wrong. So, okay,
My fault.
what did we learn from this? If we want a ripe, round, creamy wine, don't rule out Sancerre. I wouldn't say this is extremely typical. Usually I would be saying a lot about chalk and limestone in a classic vintage for Sancerre. That would be like the first thing. I describe the fruit first, and then I'm like, there's a little bit of chalk there.
Right.
But,
So for those of you that don't know, those are the same grapes. Sauvignon Blanc and Sancerre are the same grapes.
the region is Sancerre in the Loire Valley, and their white wines are Sauvignon Blanc.
On to the first red.
All right, so there's 2 red wines here. Ruby in color, moderate plus concentration. Not a lot of rim variation. There's a little bit. Red wines are just going to have more even in youth. There's a little bit of pink on the edges, magenta, but it's the core out's pretty solid. The wine is clean. A lot of fruit. It's blackberry, black cherry, raspberry, strawberry, all right out the gate. Secondary characteristics are few.
I'm sorry to point this out. You said something earlier.
Are you wearing cologne?
Am I wearing cologne?
I just got a whiff of something and
I don't. Maybe. I'm so sorry. That's why she got the wine wrong.
sorry, but
You said the wine is clean, and so does that mean that it's not corked? Does that mean that it's?
it means it means there's no flaws. Then it doesn't mean that it's not earthy.
Right.
This one particularly does have a little bit of like the organic earth, black topsoil, kind of very rich kind of earth. But
I am wearing cologne, by the way, but I'm not going to tell you what brand because.
no, I just got like something that wasn't wine related that was an aroma. It's a blessing and a curse. Things that smell good. Things that don't. So.
Are you saying that my cologne is not?
No. I'm just saying having a high sensitivity to aroma means you smell the bad just as intensely. And
She doesn't like my cologne.
no, it has nothing to do with whatever you're wearing. I'm talking about bad smells.
Yeah, I'm with you.
All right, so back to the wine. So describe the fruit. Firm on the palate. Black cherry, raspberry, strawberry. It's pretty ripe. There's some organic earth, but this is pretty fruit driven. Medium to medium plus alcohol. Medium to medium minus tannin. So we're not dealing with a thick skinned grape. I don't think we're dealing with a lot of oak. There's a little bit of vanilla. I would say that maybe a small portion would be new, a small portion would be, a year, and then maybe 2. I don't think this wine sees much more than 6 to 9 months of oak. Acidity is medium. So I think we're dealing with a thin-skinned grape here. I don't get a lot of earth. Do you get much earth?
Right before the finish. Just a touch.
But it's not really much mineral. I don't get, and here's the thing too, not to get, talk about global warming, that's the other thing, you're gonna have villages that are atypical, and now I'm second guessing myself because of the Sancerre. But I do think we've got Pinot Noir here.
Okay. I'm not confirming
Pinot
or
Noir.
denying that.
Okay, Pinot Noir and Gamay. So Gamay is the grape of Beaujolais. They can be very similar. Gamay, the Cru Gamay, Grand Cru, there's 10, and they're planted on, vines are planted on mostly granite, and some of the northern regions have quite a bit of blue subsoil slate as well. And so you get a lot of intensity of, granitic characters. You pick it up on the nose. You get, I would be talking about wet stone. You still get the fruit that I'm describing, but you get that as well. Same thing with Burgundy. Burgundy, which is Pinot Noir, and Gamay can often mimic each other. Now, here's the fun part about that. Is Cru Beaujolais is a fraction of the price of red Burgundy. And so you could get some really high quality wines with a lot of similar characteristics without the price tag. So that's kind of fun.
And you were saying that some of those French wines, the Old World style, is also used in Oregon? Is that?
Yeah, so Oregon's kind of a little bit of the bridge. The wines tend to be not quite as ripe as California for Pinot. California's pretty warm in most areas. I mean, you have true Sonoma Coast, and that's a whole nother discussion. If you can see water, you've got coastal influence, and a lot of wineries can, but you're further inland, except in some very small kind of little pockets of microclimates. It's pretty warm, so you're getting pretty ripe and pretty rich.
May I suggest before you venture a guess on this one that you taste the last one?
So, okay. Now you gave me another clue.
Hey, friends help friends.
I'm pretty confident it's Pinot. Pretty confident this is Pinot too. And it's richer. So, very similar, but the cherry in here pops out a little bit more.
On the fourth.
On the last one.
Last one.
The strawberry is jam.
Yeah.
It is.
Even comparing the color of the third wine.
But the acidity's higher.
Yeah. The third
There's
wine
more earth on
seems
this.
a little more.
Yeah, they're almost the exact same color.
It seems a little. It's got a tinge of like orange in it, or I don't know.
Which one?
The third wine.
It doesn't have as much magenta. as
Magenta.
before.
Yes.
Yep.
That's yeah.
Yeah.
That's the color.
Here's the thing though.
Sorry, I've tasted
Four is
wine
riper on the
boring to
nose.
you.
4 is riper on the nose, but has higher acidity.
Drum roll, please.
They both see about the same amount of oak, 6 to 9 months probably.
That's all I got.
they're both Pinot.
I'm gonna confirm that they are both Pinot.
It's a longer finish.
This is where Julia gets very serious, very technical.
Now I'm torn.
Yeah,
I really am.
just throw it out there. You don't have to tell me the maker, producer.
I feel like Forest Burgundy, but it's atypical.
You are correct on that one.
It's not village level, it's Bourgogne. It does not.
Yeah,
Okay, alright.
yeah.
Alright,
Bravo on that one.
Right vintage, so I'm gonna go again, 2019. Do you know what vintage it is?
Again, I did not write it down. I wasn't even thinking about the vintage.
And this may be a wrong move. But I think that's Oregon. Is it?
Great job, Willamette. So, the first wine was
This
Echo.
one's tricky.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Okay, alright, what are they?
The first wine is Echo Bay Sauvignon Blanc,
Okay.
New Zealand,
Very balanced style.
very balanced style. You can get it here at Wine Styles for $20, and if you mention this video, you can get it for $16.
Oh, wow.
You'll have to help me with this.
Okay.
This is a new one.
Oh, yeah, that's a new producer for us. Raphael Midjois.
Raphael Medwa, the Salsaire, the second wine, normally is $38. If you mention this video, $32. And then the third wine was Left Coast
Left Coast.
Cali's Cuvée Pinot Noir. That's Willamette. And then that's $26. If you mention this video, $22. The last was Louis Jadot. What did you forego?
Bourgogne, is it the Pinot Noir?
Bourgogne.
Yeah.
Pinot
Yeah, okay.
Noir. Normally that's $30. If you mention the video, $25. I did just want to bring up our next big wine tasting with Cake Bread. We're gonna have 6 wines: Sauvignon Blanc, Chardonnay, Pinot Noir, Merlot, Cabernet, and the Sequoia Grove. It'll be hosted by the winery ambassador, Sean Novak,
Novak.
sorry. And
Great
so,
speaker, has worked with these wineries for 20 plus years.
so that'll be on Thursday, October 21st. Come on out. It'll be from 6 to 8 p.m. and we'll have some light jazz music, and there will be some light fare served with the wines as well. So come to Wine Styles Friendly Center, 3326 West Friendly Avenue, Unit 141. My name's Scott McLean. I'm the general manager. This is my dear friend Julia Hunt. Thank you very much.
Sancerre's lovely, it's just.
It was.
I wouldn't have picked it as that. It's
Yeah.
great. Yeah, all the ones that are